Amnesty International Ghana has called on the government to intensify efforts in addressing pressing human rights issues. The organization wants Ghana to prioritize human rights and ensure protection for its most vulnerable citizens as it moves towards a more just society. At a press briefing in Accra, Country Director of Amnesty International Ghana, Genevieve Partington, welcomed the Ministry of Gender's sanitary pad distribution initiative but stressed the need for a clear and transparent plan to combat period poverty more effectively. She also urged increased media coverage and accountability to ensure that the pads reach vulnerable communities. Ms. Partington further highlighted the plight of women accused of witchcraft, most of whom are elderly and living in dire conditions in makeshift camps. She appealed for the swift passage of the Witchcraft Accusations Bill and called on the government to work with stakeholders to close down the camps and restore the dignity of the affected women.
International Ghana here today launched a report on sentences and executions. We covered 2024 and what is happening globally, specifically in Ghana. By the end of 2024, we had 183 persons on death row. We are happy to say that the former president of the Republic of Ghana, President Akufo-Addo, he signed into law the Criminal Offences Bill Act, which partially abolishes the death penalty. So as we speak, when crimes are committed on murder, you receive a life sentence and not death penalty. However, specifically for high treason, this is not the case. For high treason, you still get the death penalty. And this is something that Amnesty International wants to appeal to the president of Ghana that for the constitutional review, we want to, request that that specific clause is changed to life sentence, life imprisonment instead of the death penalty. There's a problem that needs to be solved, and it goes further than that. I looked at examples of Nelson Mandela, who was imprisoned for several years and came out and became president of South Africa. If he wanted, he could have sentenced all those persecutors to death. But he didn't do that. He chose a path of reconciliation. And mind you, those persecutors, they committed serious crimes. They also killed people. But he chose a path of forgiveness and reconciliation. We also look at Rwanda. The same issue happened with the Tutsis and Hutus when they had their conflict, and their president also decided no, death is not the answer. We need to find better ways of resolving the issue. You see, when you respond to violence with violence, you are sending a message to people that war and violence is good. But we don't believe in that. I don't believe in that, for example. I'm against all sorts of physical violence. So yeah, so for Amnesty, our position is strong, and we definitely believe that the Constitution needs to be reviewed, and the part on high treason needs to be turned into life imprisonment. Last point is those who are currently on death row, the law is not retrospective. So what is happening is that they are still on death row, those who committed murder. So it means those who are now going to commit will get life imprisonment. So we want the system to be fair. So our appeal to the president is that now those sentences are commuted to life imprisonment. So
Vice Board Chair of Amnesty International Ghana, Madam Charity Baturi, also revealed that global executions surged to 1,518 in 2024, the highest since 2015. She said Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq accounted for most of the executions, many of which violated international laws.
The death penalty fundamentally breaches human rights, particularly the right to life and the right to freedom from cruel, inhuman, or degrading punishment. Once carried out, an execution cannot be reversed, even when evidence later proves innocence. The 9 exonerations recorded globally in 2024, in Japan was 1, Malaysia had 5, and the USA 3, underscore districts. Amnesty International Ghana calls for 1, a constitutional reform to eliminate the death penalty for all offenses, including high treason. 2, reintroduction and passage of